So one final question for you. This is a hot topic in our household. It's definitely something that's coming up in the boardroom. Everyone knows how much I love when the government begins to intervene in open markets. B20 right now, from how it was intended to be used some time ago, back when it was devised in 2016 to cool that market, relative to how more recently it's come in to impact the housing market and where it's going. How much of a risk does intervention like B20 pose to our marketplace in the future?
So for those who don't know, the B20 qualification guidelines are that we have to qualify at the lower of 5.25% or the contract rate plus 2%. This was a new change and a slight uptick meant to address the white-hot real estate market and accelerated borrowing that's happened over the last 12 months. In general, my view on it is that it'll have little impact to cooling the market. Like we said, Canadians are very resourceful and will source the shortfall, that 5% reduction in other ways, co-signers or sourcing equity from family or other properties. I do share your views on government intervention and the timing that it has, the impact it has on the market, the intended impact, and I don't think this one will have that much effect.
And I think that's the interesting part for us is because there's considerable buffer there. Do you believe, though, based off of the ability for government intervention to be driven by populist perspective as it relates to when the market is too hot and must be cooled, the ability for them to leverage on, say, policy like this presents long-term risk to us? Is there anything that you're thinking about in the future over the next 12 to 24 months that will continue to put downward pressure on pricing other than the expectation that rates do move slightly up over time?
Well, it's interesting that the government is very focused on affordability. They want new home buyers in the market, but it is getting increasingly difficult to qualify. Not dissimilar to the tax intervention of years past, we saw OSFI introduce tighter qualification rules on June 1st, making it even harder for qualifying for a new mortgage. OSFI also cited responsible underwriting guidelines to make certain Canadians can afford their mortgage payments when rates rise. Will they rise to that contract plus 2% or that 5.25% level? In my opinion, not in the next 3 to 5 years. The market slowed slightly in the first few weeks of June, but I don't think it had much to do with the new qualifying rate. The new benchmark has less than a 5% impact on borrowing power, which is not significant. As you covered in your recent pre-sale pulse, sales are tapering, but market activity is still very strong. As we trend towards a more balanced pre-sale and resale market, record low interest rates will continue to support sales and activity, and we'll have sustained appreciation and valuations for some time to come.
Long term, our belief is interest rates will stay below a 3.5% number potentially, and yet the belief is that we need to have a significant buffer at the government disposal at any point in time that we feel the marketplace's perspective on the market is heated, and that presents some long-term question marks, I think, for our industry as to what it really means and how we continue to use that tool. I think that covers the bulk of some of the fastball questions, but we have a quick lightning round that I also want to hit you with, if that's all right?
Sure.
It's 5 questions, they're really quick. We want very, very short, snappy answers, less than a few seconds in each one. First question, what is the best mortgage product to consider right now in the marketplace?
Right now, variable. It's the lowest rate. It provides the max flexibility. That's still our recommendation right now.
What is the 5-year variable rate at in the future?
Good question. In the next 18 to 24 months, 2 to 2.5%.
What's the next big thing to impact lending?
Syndicated mortgages where the lender participates in ownership and appreciation of the home.
Oh, that's a deep topic. One thing that's keeping you up at night right now?
My kids.
Oh, of course. And name one possession that you absolutely could not live without today, and how is that different from maybe pre-COVID?
I think you know this answer. The one thing I can't live without is my bike, and I'm just happy to be out there and getting active and seeing the province open up. Yeah, it's good times.
It feels good to just connect with friends in a restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big changes. Scott, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Lots of content here. Really appreciate the perspective as always. And if you haven't done so already, feel free. We're going to share all the links out down below. Take a look at Nest Mortgage. Scott does a fantastic job supporting so many of our clients. We really appreciate that. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right.